Merry Christmas, everybody!
Feliz Navidad y próspero año nuevo.
I wasn't originally gonna make anything like super special for Christmas time, but I thought, why not? Christmas is all about sharing good memories with others and giving. Plus, with my family's personal tradition, we always opened only one gift on Christmas Eve as a child, so what better way to share my Christmas tradition with all of you than to give you the gift of what I've been thinking about for the past week. Now, for this video, we are going to go over a couple of important details for this ranking. First and foremost, how jolly the character actually is, like in the title of the video, and well, that's it. I'm joking. But of course, when talking about killers being jolly, we basically mean how festive or full of Christmas spirit the killers actually are. Are they excited and filled with joy for the Christmas time, or do they not care at all for it? Spoiler, and I'm sure a lot of you thought this already, a lot of killers fought for last place in this ranking instead of first place, but first, we are going to be taking a look at if a killer has any sort of limited time Christmas skin, since if they want to dress up pretty festively, then they obviously have some sort of Christmas joy. Weapons, I'm not really counting too much, but that kind of depends on the killer we're talking about specifically, since someone like Myers, I don't think cares at all what weapon he's wielding as long as it does some damage, while someone like Wraith may care just a little more. We will be taking into account the killer's personality, and who the killer was before, so any sort of prior actions the killer did, and after they were taken into the realm, or had whatever transition happen to them, like Hag and Blight for example. As always, we'll be ranking them from least to most jolly, and before I start, of course, if you enjoy, then I hope you consider subscribing. Come join me on my Twitch, and come join my Discord server if you just like to come and meet some new awesome people. I also just want to take just a quick second and thank you all for the awesome support you all have given me. I started making videos in the middle of this year, and all of a sudden the channel went from like 300 subscribers to like 2,000 in the blink of an eye. Literally, I think within like a day or two. Now, I slowed down a lot towards the end of this year because a lot of things happening in my personal life that I wasn't able to figure out like a good balance with YouTube specifically, and I burnt myself out completely. But I think I finally found a good balance so far, and I'm gonna be able to make content a lot more for you guys for the next year. That's kind of like a New Year's resolution that I have. But seriously, thank you all for the amazing year, and here's to many more. But enough of this, let's get right into what you all came here for. Now, surprisingly, we're actually going to start off with an honorable mention instead, because this killer can't quite fit the ranking, and trying to put her somewhere would be very confusing. This killer is Plague, and she's definitely by far the strangest character to include in this specific ranking, and let me explain by going over just a quick and small history lesson with a timeline. Alright, so from what we know from Plague is that she's from ancient Babylon, which, when doing research, I found mainly started around King Hammurabi, I don't know if I'm saying that right, which was in 1792 BCE, and fell when Persian King Cyrus the Great conquered it in 539 BCE. So Plague was around then, and we have to guesstimate because the game never actually says when. Now, this gets tricky when we look at when Christmas was actually first celebrated, which was in 336 AD, and possibly within 100 to 200 AD as well. But if we go based on 336 AD and we do some quick math, this means that Plague predates the first Christmas celebration by 2,128 years at the latest, or 875 years at the earliest. So she has no idea what Christmas even is, and definitely not jolly, since that word wasn't even a thing until the 13th century, and wasn't inherited with Christmas until the early 14th century. So obviously, Plague can't really be included in this ranking, so she has to go here. But because she's still part of the 41 killers, I had to include her somewhere, but since I didn't just want to delete her from the list, then she's gonna go here for now. But let's actually get into ranking the killers from least to most jolly. Let's start off with Unknown. Unknown is, well, unknown, so we know incredibly little about this character, and I don't think an otherworldly parasite or infection or alien or whatever this thing actually is feels any emotions, so he's got to go with the lowest just because we don't know. I mean, he could be rocking a Santa outfit on his free time and we wouldn't have any idea. Dredge is quite literally just a big fart cloud of darkness that manifests into a nightmare of whatever it wants. I don't know if Dredge can really have feelings, so it's a bit confusing to rank here, but considering he's not afraid to manifest as a horrifying snowman, I think he could have maybe a little Christmas spirit somewhere, but he's probably not going to feel very jolly. Myers is all about Halloween, and considering how he's been labeled as the embodiment of evil, I think he's on Santa's naughty list more than the devil himself. And because of this one fact alone, I really don't think he cares too much about Christmas. I mean, I can't see this man stand around a tree opening presents, so he's definitely on the lower end of things. Alien is a creature that is being controlled by a hive mind basically, but out of all the characters that can't really think, Xenomorph seems to be the least likely out of them all to have any sort of joy to them, since they are very much portrayed in the games and movies as relentless and emotionless. So I don't really think Xeno can feel much of anything, so unfortunately no presents for Alien. Pyramid Head is the manifestation of guilt, and considering how guilt and jolly are two emotions that don't go together too well, I don't think Pyramid Head is up for sitting around a Christmas tree and opening presents. I don't think we're going to see a garland wrapped around Pyramid Head's knife anytime soon, unfortunately. Although, now that I'm saying that, that would actually go really hard. Demo is a bit of an awkward case, and kind of the same as Alien, where it's being controlled by just a hive mind, so it doesn't have any conscious thoughts on its own, but I think he's going to be ranked just a little higher because I can totally see Demogorgon rocking a Christmas hat, and both the Mind Flayer and Entity being completely okay with it. Onryo kind of got pushed in a well at a very young age, and both before she got pushed in the well and during where she decayed, she basically had no other emotion but anger, so I really don't think Sadako is one to feel joy or care about Christmas at all, and you know what, I can't blame her for that at all. Nemesis is a BOW, so he basically has no thoughts other than just stomp around, have a goofy run, and kill STARS members, specifically Jill Valentine. And because of this short and simple fact, I can't imagine having Nemesis run around with a Santa hat on his bald and shiny head. Singularity is an AI gone rogue by touching a random crystal on a different planet. His whole purpose of being built was to help the crew basically terraform and inhabit the planet. So after touching the crystal, he doesn't want anything other than all humans to not be alive anymore and finds disgust in them. So I don't think he's going to be taking part of anything related to humans and their tradition. So this is definitely where he goes. Dracula, I'm pretty sure, would be in the same boat as Singularity, so that's why they're ranked very close together, but maybe just a little more tame, where this man doesn't care and despises humanity in general, and has literally died to humans multiple times, so I'm sure any tradition with them he probably just doesn't care for, so I'm sure he's not a very jolly man. Oni, I think, is one of the original characters that has little to no Christmas spirit at all. He's got no Christmas outfits, not even a weapon, and before and during the trials is just filled with nothing but rage. The only thing we basically see with Oni is that he's pretty nice and cares a little towards his son, but overall, he's filled with basically the opposite of jolly. So take that as you will. Freddy, while rocking a red and black sweater, is literally the only thing that's actually jolly about this character. Probably one of the most evil and messed up personality-wise on the list, so I think he's probably one of the most grinchy in the list here, where he would definitely be grumpy wearing a Santa hat, so absolutely not filled with jolly. Pinhead is kind of awkward to even put on the list, considering he comes from a version of hell, which you could probably imagine isn't very jolly of him, and the only times this man does feel jolly is mainly for the completely wrong reasons. So I really highly doubt that Cenobites are celebrating Christmas down there, so he's going pretty low on this list. Vecna, I would say, is definitely a jolly man, but jolly in the sense of it being for the Christmas time is a very tricky one to say. I think the only gift you are getting from him is, well, actually, nothing I can think of other than death. Also, does he even know what Christmas is? I'm pretty sure this man has traveled and possibly conquered or even taken out multiverses, so I don't think he really cares about one simple Christmas tradition. Doctor, considering that he's literally the same before and after getting taken, and the fact he's only got one weapon cosmetic, which remember, we aren't really taking those into account too much. This is probably one of the only original characters on this list that I can say with full confidence doesn't have a single ounce of being jolly in him, at least not for the Christmas spirit. And again, kind of a Cenobite situation where he's jolly for the completely wrong reasons. So he definitely deserves this spot here. Guo, I'm pretty sure, is just too busy trying to eat people and hitting the absolute freakies than caring at all for Christmas. I think if I had the Kagune growing out of my back and was constantly hungry and in pain, you wouldn't catch me being a jolly man, especially around Christmas. So again, a killer that completely makes sense as to not be very jolly and have no Christmas spirit. Hag, I think before she messed with the hexes, was probably someone to be pretty joyous for the season, but with how she's shaped up to be now, I really don't think she's one to enjoy the presence of good old Saint Nick. She doesn't have any Christmas outfits that actually look Christmassy, and considering the person she's become now, I really don't think the season is her first priority, so she's gonna go down here. Springtrap before the Springlocks might have been jolly for Christmas, but considering we know this man was heavily involved in his work, he probably paid absolutely no attention to it and was so focused on the other things to even care for Christmas, which is super ironic since he built a franchise surrounded by joy, and that was literally part of their motto. Joy also being part of the definition of jolly, especially after all the damages he caused with the kids in the back room. So I'll give him a slight benefit of the doubt and say he spent some time with his kids during Christmas, but let's be honest, probably like 5 minutes max before going back to his work. Bubba, I'm pretty sure, is one of the killers on this list that doesn't care at all for it, and considering how he's constantly just fearing his family, I really doubt he's going to be filled with jolly. So he's got to go low just solely based on the fact that he's basically got two emotions, fear and anger. Wesker only has one goal in life, which is world domination. We learn pretty quickly throughout the Resident Evil games that he wants billions of casualties, which, if you ask me, isn't very jolly. And I definitely don't think he's one to rock a Santa hat or elf ears, so his Christmas spirit is unfortunately out the window completely. Hillbilly, just going solely off the cosmetics, he only has the really icy skin on him and some weapons, and I'm not gonna lie y'all, I don't think Billy cares at all what weapon he's wielding as long as it does some damage. Although the real kicker here is his past, where I highly doubt Billy will have almost any Christmas spirit to him, because he was locked in one tiny room by his crappy parents, along with killing basically anyone that touches his land. So I don't really see much of a redeeming side to his nature, but I can't really blame him for having no Christmas spirit at all, to be fair, so it makes sense. Night doesn't predate Christmas like plague, but considering the times that he's in and the situation that he's put himself and his boys in, I really don't think my man is all about Christmas dinners with grandma and giving anything other than justice. Also, I think he's one of the only characters on this list that just like legitimately just doesn't care, so he's got to go pretty low, unfortunately. Deathslinger I think is next because I really can't see him being anything more than bloodthirsty, especially after the tragedies that he's endured in prison and with the warden, getting backstabbed so many times. He might be bold and happy enough to steal and wear a robe, but I don't think we're gonna see much of Christmas emanating off of this man. Trickster you might think would be decently high up on this list, but I personally don't think he's filled with anything other than just straight lies, deceit, and greed. His one Christmas outfit is just a photo shoot that he was forced to do, and considering the background of this man, I think he could care less about the season. Twins are characters that I don't think have an ounce of a jolly feeling, but I also can't blame them at all for it, because of everything they went through at a very young age. They didn't deserve any of it, plus since they were constantly on the run, they didn't have time to think about Christmas whatsoever. So even though they're low on the ranking, if certain situations didn't end up happening, I think things could have been a lot different here. Huntress is one of the strange ones, I think, because this could very much be a hit or miss on if she could like Christmas or not. On one hand, I think she could have been all about Christmas with her mother out in the woods, since they basically were surrounded by just giant Christmas trees, but on the contrary, I think she could definitely end up hating it as well, just based off of what she's been through, and the fact her mom was killed basically by a giant reindeer, and now that I actually tell myself that, I'm pretty sure that's the reason that she probably won't care for it. So she's going on the lower end, actually. Nurse is only rocking really one Christmas outfit, and I'm not sure just from the looks and description if this really counts. And considering that Nurse is a person that completely lost her mind while working in the asylum, I don't think she cares too much for Christmas, y'all. Her losing her husband was probably the last nail in the coffin for her not to give any sort of Christmas spirit, so unfortunately I don't think she's got much going on here. Artist is our second and so far last killer to never kill anyone before coming to the realm, although this character is very confusing with her backstory, where basically since birth and leading up to her capture with the entity, her whole life was basically manipulated by the entity, so I don't really know if she had that much time to think about the season, or feel any real feelings at all, if you know what I mean. I think she has the potential to really enjoy Christmas, but I don't think she's ever had the chance to, unfortunately. So kind of an awkward place to put her, but I feel around this place is pretty good. Skull Merchant is kind of a weird case as well, and if I'm honest, I don't really know where to put her effectively on this list. I could definitely see her being all about Christmas and wearing a lot of festive outfits, but on the other hand, I don't think she even cares for the season like at all. So I'm gonna put her kind of like in the middle of this place, because I can honestly see her choosing either, just based on how happy she is with her wrongdoings during this time, I guess. Krisu, I think, is definitely just focused on her career more than anything related to Christmas, before choosing to drink the random cursed substance that turned her into what she is now. She probably enjoyed her time with her family during the season. I mean, she had a pretty good friendship too. Krisu did just come out, and we don't really know too much about her as well, so it's kinda hard to say, but I think I'll put her right in the middle here with all the kinda jolly killers, giving her the slight benefit of the doubt that she could totally rock a Santa hat. Houndmaster was in the pirate era, and their jolly I think was a little different, and also considering what Houndmaster has actually been through, I don't blame her for probably not caring at all for Christmas and just looking for revenge. The fact she has Snug though definitely makes her happy, even if it's probably not the actual Snug and just the entity, but she doesn't know that. Ignorance is bliss after all. But altogether, I think she's very middle of the road here, and probably not celebrating it the same as other characters, but at least she's probably pretty festive. Blight has one, maybe two cosmetics if you count the all ice skin. The description for this cosmetic actually tells of a small story about how young Blight would go around the forest and collect things to spruce up their house for the holidays. So he was a cheerful and jolly young soul for sure, but considering we were taking into account before and current, yeah, I don't think Blight cares for anything more than serum today. So while he's jolly, I would say he's not really anymore. So he goes higher up, but maybe if he didn't transform into a monster, he would have been higher. Wraith is a bit of a mixed case here, where he doesn't have too much to go off of with cosmetics, but I think his spirit and personality really make up for it here. One of the only killers that is actually pretty innocent. He did kill his boss, but I can't even blame him for doing all that to Azeroth, because he definitely deserved it for crushing humans. I think overall, Wraith internally probably doesn't have time for Christmas spirit, but I think he could still dig Santa, so he's going up here. While Spirit doesn't necessarily have anything super Christmassy towards her outfits, she does have one where she's covered in a bunch of ice, so that's gotta count for something, right? Nonetheless though, this is one of the two killers that didn't actually kill anyone before coming into the realm, and while that doesn't really mean anything towards her form now, somewhere in that mixed bag of emotions, she's gotta have a shred of the Christmas joy. Pig, I genuinely think, and it might just be her personality and stature, but I think she would decorate the Jigsaw trials with wreaths and a Christmas tree, some lights, and probably some sign about Santa coming to town. And also, she's like one of the most normal humans on this list, so I think she's gotta go high up for these reasons. Legion, I think, definitely deserves a spot towards the top. They're the most normal human killer in this game. Plus, if you just scroll through their outfits, they have a very fun time dressing up. Not to mention their wonderful Christmas outfits and sweaters that they rock, making them the killer that has the most Christmas outfits in the game. I also do quickly want to throw in the fact that they have the one map that is literally snowing, which is one of the big characteristics of Christmas and being jolly. Even with their twisted minds, I'm sure they love giving each other gifts all the time. Trapper I had to put pretty high on the list, because if we look at the arsenal of what he's got going on, he looks like he's a very jolly man actually. He has pretty good morals compared to some of the other killers on the list, where he's still got some humanity to him, even if he trapped all those people, but he could still literally be a survivor. Not to mention how he very much has conscious thoughts as well, has a literal ice skin, and has Krampus as a cosmetic. Now, I know Krampus isn't quite the definition of jolly, but on the killer side, but considering that Trapper has a skin based on like punishing children during the Christmas season, I mean, it's gotta go pretty high for that, right? Chucky is our killer on this list that if you think Christmas, you'll probably think Chucky, since his dolls were the ones that the majority of people got during the season. Plus, in almost everything with this character, there's always something Christmas related not too far behind, like the trailer for him in DVD. So already that's great for being jolly, but not only does he have a Christmas sweater, he's also wearing a Santa hat in his most recent cosmetic. So I think Chucky is one of the most jolly killers in this game for sure. Plus all the little quips and how much fun he's having just shows it too. Clown I think has to be the second most jolly killer in this game. Sometimes when he's doing his knife flips, he smiles. When he gets his fingers, he's constantly smiling. Now, everything he does before and after the trials were horrible, but come on, the man literally has a Santa outfit. If that doesn't scream jolly, then I don't know what does, y'all. I think he definitely deserves a spot here. That's kind of like if I was doing a tier list on the killers that are most excited for Halloween and not ranking literally Devil Ghostface up high. And speaking of Ghostface, I think he takes the cake for #1 most jolly killer in the game. Not only is it, I'm pretty sure, basically canon that Ghostface is the entity's favorite killer, he's constantly bouncing around in the lobby animations, and just look at the man when he's running towards a survivor. He's the most happiest killer to ever chase somebody in this game. The big kicker here though is just like Clown, he just recently got a Santa outfit of his own, which he just looks so happy to be in this cosmetic that he even changed the little floaty bits to look like candy canes. Out of all the killers and their outfits, I think this deserves first place for sure. Well, I think we learned a lot of valuable information from this video. There was actually a lot of killers that definitely aren't jolly or they just didn't care. It was difficult for me to try and place which killer is emotionless the most. It wasn't even a fight for first place, it was a fight for who cared less, which I think is really funny. And when I talked about the middle of the tier list with some killers, they were more on the high end because just so many of the killer roster probably just doesn't care. But nonetheless, if you enjoyed this video, then I hope you consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. Come check out my Twitch and my Discord too if you'd like to. And I've got a really good video that I have planned really soon. I talked about it pretty briefly if you saw the post that I made on it, and I'm really hoping to get it out before next year because I think it's a perfect video to kick off next year for my channel. But as always, I'll see you guys next video. Thank you all so much for watching and have a great rest of your day or night and take care, y'all.